Preparing now to stream live.
All right, so good afternoon to all of you who is tuning in to our Mindfulness at Lunch session. So I'm Eric. I'm from Brahm Center, the mindfulness psychologist here. So today I'm taking over NG for this session for Mindfulness at Lunch, and I'm very pleased to be here with everyone to be able to lead a session for this period of time. So how's everyone doing today? In terms of how's your body and your mind feeling? Let's just take this moment to check in with your body, to just notice, right? What is this sensation like in the body right now? So just feeling into your feet and just noticing maybe the contact of the feet against the ground. Just checking in with the entire posture that you're in right now. Whether is it stable and supported, and just taking this moment to notice the sensations in the body in this moment. So wherever you are right now, so whether you are traveling or commuting, or perhaps you are taking a break in this moment to tune in to this time for yourself. And today I really like to speak a little bit more about what it means to be present. So for all of you who are tuning in right now into this session, what does being present mean to you? And I would love to hear from you by, if you're on Zoom, you can type in your responses on the chat. And if you're streaming live on Facebook, you can make a comment as well as to this question. What does it mean for you to be present? What do you notice? Yeah, so I'm seeing that, one of the responses from Christopher, he says that, being present is to be here and now, giving the person the full attention. So if I may just ask you, in this moment right now, are you present? Where's your mind in this moment? Is it centered on this very moment right now? Or are you noticing that even as you're listening, perhaps your mind could be wandering off to a certain thought, or perhaps noticing that there are certain sensations in your body that may be prompting you to take your lunch? For example, the sensations of being hungry. All right, so keep it going. Just bring in your responses. What does it mean to you to be present? So one of the responses by Lei Kwan, she says it's about being aware. Exactly, and mindfulness is really about being aware of what's here and now. The awareness of what's present for you in this moment. And this really includes, noticing our body sensations in every given moment of time. Noticing even our thoughts in the moment, whether there's any thoughts that may be just arising, as well as noticing our senses, right? So P.S. Fong mentioned about using our five senses as a way to be conscious. And in fact, using our five senses is a really, really good way to connect with what it means to be present. So if you have taken your lunch ready, or you're going to take your lunch in a short while later after this session, I would really invite you to really use your five senses to connect to the sensation or just the experience of eating, right? So if we are able to just, as we eat our lunch, just noticing what you eating by just looking into the food that's in front of you, just noticing the colors, the texture, from what you are looking at, whether is it thick or soft. And perhaps you can even just notice, as you bring the spoonful of food to your mouth or your nose, just taking that time to smell, just appreciating the smell radiating from the food that you're about to eat. And perhaps, as you put the food into your mouth, you can also connect to the sensation of chewing, right? So these are the five senses that, we can really connect with. Not forgetting the sensation of hearing, especially, when we eat food that is more crunchy. For example, when we take vegetables, and we chew upon them. But just taking that moment to tune into the sound that you might hear from within, as you take each bite. How about the rest of you? What does being present mean for you? Have you been present since this morning? And when you're being present, what do you notice in yourself? Are you more likely to be focused in the moment? Or are you more likely to be distracted? So for myself, being present is really about connecting to the moment, noticing in real time what thoughts are present for myself, and just noticing that even in that moment, I could be distracted by a sound or a particular sensation that is in my body. I notice it. I notice it with kindness. Instead of letting the inner critic or the voice in my head that say, hey, why are you distracted? So I think being present for me is really about having that kindness to shine for myself, to be in the moment. And so just to share with everyone a happy story. So last couple of days ago, in fact on Valentine's Day, I became a father. And the arrival of my newborn son is really spectacular. And it really made me realize the importance of being present, right? Because just looking at my baby boy, just opening his eyes and connecting with me, I felt that sense of connection with him, that father-son connection. And I feel like if only, we can all be like newborn baby, where we can let go of whatever judgments that we may have. And for a newborn baby, he comes into this world like a new slate, not knowing what this world might bring, totally being present. And when I see how my wife, when she breastfeed my son, it's really such an enjoyable process because I could see that he is really in the moment, just so contented and grateful that all he has to do is to just feed upon this milk that is going to nourish him, not needing to care what else that's happening around him. And I think that's what it means to be present, right? To be able to connect in the moment just as it is, letting go of whatever thoughts that we may have and just enjoying the process as what it is. So perhaps, for those of you out there, and if you find that, since this morning you have been feeling really distracted, perhaps by thoughts in your head or by certain stresses that you're feeling in your body, perhaps I invite you right now to just connect with what's here in the body. Because our body can tell us so much thing. And in fact, one way to really trust what it means to be present is to listen in to what this body is telling us, because our body doesn't lie. Our body is here for us, just like our breath. Our breath has been supporting us all this while, right, since we are born. And so whenever we are able to just tune into this breath and just tune into the body, in that moment, we are present once again, regardless of whatever thoughts or regardless how distracted you have been previously. That moment of connection brings us back into this very moment, right? So I'm currently, in fact, on my paternity leave, and therefore, I'm currently wearing my Brown Center shirt, even though I'm not in office, but I'm currently at home. Um, I would love to bring over my baby and show everyone, but I think he's currently sleeping, so I shall not disturb him. So I'd like to once again, reach out to all of you out there to just take this moment, right, to just type in, in the chat right here on Zoom or even on Facebook, leave a comment, just to add on, when you are present, how do you feel? So use one word to describe that. So for myself, when I'm present, I feel really, really happy, especially in the past few days. Right, so we have a few responses coming in. So when you're present, you feel calm. Beautiful. You feel peace. What else? What else are you noticing when you are present? In control? Yeah, exactly. It's oftentimes, when we are not present, we feel like we are losing control. In fact, perhaps losing control of perhaps the thoughts in our head, right? The thoughts that would just derail us from what we want to do in the moment. So are there times where you find that you're doing a task and then a thought came to you and then you immediately want to act upon that thought and then you forgot about what you're actually doing previously, right? So this is where mindfulness is so important because it allows us to just tune in to what's here for us in the moment, right? And when we are able to tune in to what's here in the moment, we are in control of what's in the moment, especially, whatever that's arising, right? So another one is, when we are present, we feel that we are free, right? So this sense of empowerment, or rather this sense of liberation for ourselves as well, is so important, right? So perhaps the next question I'd like to pose to everyone is, how do you know you are present? How do you know you are present? What are some of the signs that you notice, right? That gives you that knowing that you are present in the moment for yourself and even perhaps for the person in front of you. So how do you know? So for myself, I'll know that, I'm present when I'm able to really show up fully for the person in front of me, right? And in the past few days, it has been really for my son, for my wife, for my mom as well, when she comes over to visit her grandson. So I feel, that sense of connection with each one of them. Sometimes, when so there was this particular situation where I brought my baby. So his name is Erickson, right? So son of Eric, right? And just a couple of days ago, I brought him to the pediatrician, at Thompson Medical. And as we are about to see, before we went to see the doctor, the pediatrician, my baby started crying. And in that moment, right, I knew that, he needed something. And so I brought him out to change his diapers, right? Because he's probably feeling really uncomfortable. So the moment I was like taking out his diapers, and in that moment itself, he started crying. He started crying really, really loudly. And at that moment, I was noticing that my attention was hijacked by his cries. He cries for help, right? Or rather, he cries for discomfort. So in that moment, I noticed that I was not very present because I became really, really scared. I was like, how can I help to, change his diaper as fast as possible, right? So that he could be soothed and comfortable once again. And so in that moment in time, I took a deep breath. And despite, all the crying that was like happening, in the foreground, um, I tried my best to quickly clean up for him and put on a new diaper and then um, bring him into my cradle. And that's the moment of just connecting to my baby and also with my wife at that moment as well, right? So I feel like sometimes even though we might find that we are not very present, it is still okay, right? What's really important is that we take that time to just be kind to ourselves because we are only humans, right? There'll be moments that we might just lose it, right? Especially when our amygdala gets really activated, especially when it goes into that fight or flight reaction that I think Angie was mentioning yesterday. So whenever we notice that we have been triggered, that's a really good moment to notice if are we still present with ourselves or are we beginning to let our thoughts control us and perhaps allow us to act on things that may not be really very wise. All right. So um, I have another comment here on Zoom that says that, how do you know that you are present, right? So Lei Kuan mentioned that when we notice that the mind is not thinking of other things, right, except our surrounding, right? So I think it's also about noticing, right? So noticing in awareness that, hey, perhaps that um, in that moment itself, right, your mind is thinking about something else, and then you realize that hey, you have been captured by a certain thought, right, and then you allow yourself, hey, it's all right, just coming back to this moment, right? So for this moment onwards, I'd like to walk everyone through a short practice, right? And so just take this moment to connect to your body by finding yourself a comfortable sitting position, right? So allowing yourself to be stable and supported. So if you're sitting on a chair, I invite you to perhaps just sit a little forward so that your spine can be self-supporting. On your hands, you can just place it wherever that is comfortable for you. And if you like to, you can invite your eyes to close. And just beginning this practice by taking in 3 beautiful deep breaths. And at the end of the third breath, just taking this time to allow yourself to connect with this moment of sitting, sensing into the different points of contact of the body. Just feeling into the sensations in both the feet. So wherever you are right now, taking that time to bring this attention all the way into your toes. So noticing with that attitude of curiosity, discovering what sensations are here or present for you in your toes, perhaps in your big toe, as well as the rest of the toes. You might notice sensations, if there are perhaps tingling or buzzing sensations, or perhaps no sensations as well. And that's completely normal. Just feeling into even the gaps between the toes, between your big toe and the second toe. And if you're wearing your footwear or socks, just noticing all the toes are all cuddled up, in this space. And gradually shifting this very gentle awareness to include the ball of the foot as well as the heel of the foot. Observing the pressure that the heel makes with the ground. You're seated on a chair. Just the weight that this part of the body is kind of supporting. And gradually, on the next out breath, choosing to let go of the tension at this area. And beginning to gently bring this awareness into our ankles as well as our calves. What's that sensation in this area? In the left and the right calf muscle? And is there any regions of the calf muscle that is tense? Or maybe you might notice that is at ease. So however that sensation might be for you, we can choose to stay present with it, not needing to judge this moment of the experience in any way. Just being present, breath by breath. And then gradually as well, you might choose to include in your awareness, just noticing how the shin in both our legs feels like right now. And then gradually on the next out breath, letting go of this area and beginning to direct this focus very gently into our kneecaps. Feeling into this area of the joints of the body. How is it feeling right now? Right in this moment. At the position where you're at right now. Is it well supported? The way they are seated? What is it like for you? And then gradually, now bring this awareness away from the kneecaps and shifting it into the thighs. Feeling into the left and the right thigh, just as they are. So if you are seated right here and your hands are resting upon your laps, just noticing that contact, that the hands are in connection with the thighs. Feeling into the inner and the outer thigh. And gradually, on the next out breath, choosing to let go this area. And beginning to direct this very gentle focus into the bum. Feeling into our sit bones where it has been supporting us all this while. connecting with the muscles at the bum region that cushions our sit bones with whatever contact or support that we are in with. Being present with this body exactly as what it is right now. And now, as you breathe out, you may choose to let go of that very gentle focus on the bum region and beginning to shift this tension into the back. So, beginning from the tailbone, just noticing what's here for you. If there's any sensations that may be calling out for attention where we might perceive it as unpleasant, just notice where if there's any narrative that the mind is beginning to come up with when it comes to unpleasant sensations for us. See if you're able to just watch that and just tune into the actuality of the experience right now as compared to what we think it is. So very gently gliding this attention all the way up into the lower back muscles, and all the way into the middle and upper back. Feeling into this uprightness of the whole spine. The back muscles that also plays an important role in supporting the process of breathing. And very gently, as you breathe out, now shifting this focus into the upper back, noticing what's here for us, the upper back muscles, including the regions that is nearing the shoulders. So feeling into the left and the right shoulder. How does that feel like? Is it at ease? Is there any region that may be more stiff or tense? And if we do notice that, we can choose to be kind to this area. Perhaps noticing if we have been putting on too much uh, pressure upon this area when we carry our back, or whether we have been slouching in a certain way, just observing the shoulders. And then gradually, on the out breath, just letting go of the tension at the shoulders and just shifting it to the upper arms, down into the elbows, feeling into the forearms, feeling into the wrists and our hands. And see if you're able to be really curious about the sensations in the fingertips. Each and every finger that we have, both the left and the right hand. Whether is it tingling or numbness, that's alright. That's just what it is right now. And now gradually choosing to let go of the tension at the fingers and bringing it into the belly, the feeling into the belly, that gentle rise and fall that comes naturally with each breath. Just letting this breath arrive on its own and leave on its own as well. And we can also feel the sensations of breathing in the chest and the lungs. So, however the chest might be feeling right now, that's all right. Choosing to be kind to this body, welcoming the body sensations as what they are in this moment. And then gradually, on the next out breath, shifting the focus into the neck, feeling to the throat, back of the neck, as well as our face, feeling into our facial muscles right now. Is there any sensations that we know in this moment? Is there at ease? How's the cheeks feeling right now? The lips and the mouth, tip of the nose, noticing the temperature of the air that's being inhaled into the body. In breath, followed by the out breath, all on its own. And then gradually, including your awareness, noticing the ears, our eyes. Our eyes are closed, just noticing the eyelids. Does it feel heavy or light? Is it really tightly shut or just gently closed? Feeling to the forehead and the top of the head. Breath by breath. Just nourishing this moment of being present. And now, inviting you to just observe another 3 more beautiful breaths. And at the end of the third breath, and you feel ready, comfortable, may invite your eyes to open if they're closed. Just beginning to, if you like to, just wiggle your toes or move your fingers. And as I always do in the classes that I teach, just bring a most beautiful, radiant smile on your face. All right, so I'd like to invite you to just take this moment to reflect upon what was that experience like for you, as we did the body scan practice. How do you feel right now in this moment? after giving time for yourself to really sense all the different regions of this body, part by part. So if you could just put your comments over here on the chat on Zoom, and if you're on Facebook, you can put it on to the comments over here as well. So how does your mind and body feel after doing the practice? What are you noticing about being present in the body? Right? So you might feel sleepy, perhaps, if you had a long night yesterday, or perhaps you wake up really early in the morning. And in fact, when we sense into sleepiness, is really a good way to tune in and acknowledge this sense of sleepiness that we have in the body. Perhaps it's just a way, for the body to convey to us that maybe we really need to take a break. Perhaps since the morning we have been engaging or occupied with our daily activities, whether is it engaging in the household work, or if you're working, you have been replying emails or engaging in meetings. Just take this moment to give your mind that space to pause, right? And if you actually fell asleep in the practice earlier, it's all right, right? So I always used to joke in my class that, if this is actually the only class, right, or the time that you can actually fall asleep, and you don't need to feel bad about it. So, when I go out to schools to teach the students, whether is it the primary school students or even the secondary school students, one of the practices that students really, really enjoy is in fact the practice that we did earlier. And this is the practice called the body scan. It's a really a practice where we can really tune into the body and just allow it to be exactly as what it is. Especially nowadays, students really might notice that the pace of life could be quite fast, right? That they need to connect with their friends at school as well as out of school. They need to juggle with their homework as well as their co-curriculum activities. And sometimes sleep is almost like a luxury for them. And um, it's no wonder why they might feel sleepy at times, right? So I think that, if we feel sleepy, it's all right. We can be kind to ourselves, just acknowledge that this is what we feel right now in this moment. And perhaps just tell ourselves that, hey, we might choose to take a break, and that's all right. Ingrid mentioned that you felt really good, peaceful and happy, calm and relaxed. Right. So, when we begin to make time for ourselves, these are moments that we can choose to be present. So, I'm curious to hear from the rest of you on Zoom, as well on Facebook, if you are tuning in right now. What do you notice in your body and mind, right? After engaging in this short period of the body scan practice. I'm going to give some time for each one of you to respond, if you will. Are there any moments, right, in the practice where you begin to notice that as you are scanning the body, are there moments where you become aware that this attention of ours may not be on that particular part of the body? And if you did notice that, where was your attention? Where did it move to? So earlier for myself, when I was guiding this practice of the body scan, I was noticing that, even though, as I was leading this practice in the background, right, I began to hear my baby crying. But I was cool with it because I know that my wife would be able to attend to him. And it's also that sense of trust that I have in her as well. So that I could be really focused and engaged in this period of the practice. So I was just noticing, that actually my attention can also be captured by sounds in the environment, and that's all right, and that's only normal. So what's really important is really to just acknowledge that attention do shift from time to time. Um, and what's really critical here is that noticing, right? That noticing of where it might move to, right? And when we begin to bring it back, oftentimes, what's really important is what's the attitude that we bring when we bring our attention back into the moment, right? Sometimes if we were to approach it with an attitude of forcefulness, like for example, I should not be distracted, right? I really should be focusing on this right now. So I need to focus on this part of the body. So in this way, it seems like we are beginning to be a bit harsh on ourselves, right? And what I would suggest really is to invite that dose of kindness to the way that we might begin to treat ourselves as well as the thoughts that we might have in the moment. So, one really helpful way is that we can actually thank the mind that, hey, thank you. I noticed that you are bringing my attention to sounds that occurred in my surrounding. And that's okay. You may even wish to just thank the mind that you might notice that a particular thought came up. Perhaps it's just our mind's way of reminding that, perhaps there are certain things that we may not have worked on or we have not got to, and therefore it may emerge as a reminder in our mind. So, what's really helpful is to be kind to these thoughts when they do arrive as we do the practice. Um, so, oftentimes, we might find that um, we might notice, we might feel a little frustrated, when we find that we are not able to focus during the practice, and that's all right. What's really important is to just acknowledge that feeling of frustration that may come up, or even acknowledging that feeling of impatience that may emerge in the moment in time. So it's not to beat ourselves up that, hey, why am I so impatient? Why am I thinking that I want this practice to end quicker, right? So these are things that we might just bring that sense of acknowledgement towards, and before you know it, right, you're back in the moment as well. All right, so Hinglim also mentioned about how you notice that your attention move, right? And important that you notice that, right? So congratulations for noticing, right? So what I always say to the students who take our mindfulness courses at Brahm Center is that we can always congratulate ourselves, right? Congratulate ourselves for having noticed it instead of labeling this wandering away as yet another obstacle or yet another problem, right? to be addressed, right? So what I would in fact say is that we can congratulate ourselves for even noticing, right? And that's the kindness that we can begin to shine for ourselves, right? So I have a question here where someone asked, so does Brahm Center offer mindfulness course in Mandarin? Right. So in fact, for myself, I do conduct the mindfulness courses in Mandarin as well. So if there's um, anyone out there who is tuning in to our Zoom or our Facebook Live, for our mindfulness at lunch session in this moment, in fact, my Chinese name is Ling Junjie. So I often joke that um, when I first introduced myself as a mindfulness teacher, for our Mandarin speaking audience, and they will often laugh. Oh, 你是林俊杰啊？就是你可以唱一首歌给我们听吗？ And I find that it just gives me yet an opportunity to connect to whoever out there, right, that is tuning in or even engaging with our courses. So yes, in fact, yeah, we do conduct mindfulness courses in Mandarin. We have the 正念基础课程, and that's actually the mindfulness foundation course. So that is a 4 weeks mindfulness course that we would encourage all of you out there who have not taken our course to give this a try, right? In fact, you can use your Skills Future credit to pay for this course. In fact, if I'm not wrong, in the latest budget, there will be a top up of an additional $500, right? So why not, make use of this opportunity to learn new skills, right? To empower ourselves to create our own happiness. And I find that when we begin to learn skills of awareness, it can be so powerful, right? So coming back to the theme for today's session of what it means to be present, I think that when we are able to notice those moments that we are not present, that's really, really a good first step, right? And this is the muscle of our mind, right? That we are beginning to want to cultivate, as we allow ourselves to engage in this mindfulness practice on a daily basis, right? So starting off, with us, on a mindfulness foundation course is a really, really good way to start, right? So every day you can choose to do about 10 minutes of the practice. And in fact, when you attend our courses in person, right, at our various centers at Novena, McPherson, CME, and now we're also offering in Jurong East. In fact, we are even conducting the mindfulness-based stress reduction course at Jurong East as well, at the Divine Nine Institute. Right. So in fact, this evening I'll be conducting the very last session of the MBSR over at that venue. Right. So for those of you out there, if you know of people who prefer to learn mindfulness in Mandarin, this is one place that you can go to. You can head over to our Eventbrite page or our Brahm Center website as well to find more information of our upcoming mindfulness courses that's offered in Mandarin. Right. So in fact, in the next month, right, on 30th of March, we're going to host this speaker. His name is Li Chongjian, and he'll be sharing a little bit more about communication between parents and their children. And one of the important elements in his workshop or talk is on mindfulness as well, right? And I cannot overemphasize how important it is to have the foundation of mindfulness, when we communicate with others, right? And communication and being present, they kind of come hand in hand, right? We cannot have one without the other, right? So it's the same like, when we clap our hands, right? We can't clap just with one hand. And likewise, when we communicate, we need to have that sense of presence, right? So for myself, this is something that I'm still practicing as well. In fact, communication is really an art, right? A skill where we can continually shape and be better at, right? And what really helps us when we communicate is this sense of presence, right? So like what many of you has already mentioned, when you are present, you are in the here and now, right? So for the rest of today, when you begin to speak to someone else, I invite you to just take that moment to drop into just noticing in your body and also in your mind. Are you present? As you're listening to the person in front of you, or even right now, as you're listening through your headphones or, on speaker or wherever you are, where is your mind? Is your mind here? Or are you noticing that even as you are listening, that this mind already has its own agenda, like it wants to do something else, right? And especially when we are communicating, it is so important to give our presence to the person in front of us. And that really helps us to listen in to the message that the person in front of us is trying to convey and communicate to us. So presence is really a key ingredient when it comes to communication, right? And so on the talk on 30th of March, if you're interested to sign up, I'll really encourage you to go on to our Eventbrite as soon as this session ends to sign up a spot for yourself, especially if you're a parent, right? And you want to learn new skills of communicating with your children. And for myself right here, I'm a newly minted dad, and and I think this is one area, right, that is a work in progress, right? We can always allow ourselves to learn to be present, especially when even through non-verbal ways as well, right? So especially in the past few days, um, my baby son is not able to speak, right? But having this sense of presence allow me to tune in to his facial expression. And it's just amazing because for a baby, they have like 1,000 different facial expressions to communicate their needs. And it's their way of surviving, right? So I find that if my mind was tuning into something else, right? If I was worried, or if I'm actually thinking about something at work, about work, then I will not be able to tune in and observe in real time what's in front of me of what my son is trying to convey, right? So I really find that having this sense of presence can really bring us to the next step. And this next step is not so far from where we are at already. And we all already have this innate capacity to be present, right? So we can allow ourselves to trust this process, that there's this sense of knowing, this sense of knowing when we are not present. And whenever we begin to have a glimpse or notice that, give ourselves that dose of kindness that is normal and it's okay. And in the next moment, we can choose to be present once again. Right. So I'd like to, in the last 1 minute, I'd just like to end off with a really short practice. So if you could, or you can just do this eyes open or eyes closed wherever you are. Just taking this moment to observe 3 beautiful deep breaths. And just taking this time and silently just wishing yourself, may I be well and happy. May I be well and happy. And just observing another 3 more beautiful breaths rising in this moment. And if you're ready, if your eyes are closed, you may gently invite them to open. And we end this practice by bringing that most beautiful, radiant smile on your face. And with that, I thank everyone for tuning in for this mindfulness at lunch session. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you, everyone, and have a beautiful afternoon ahead. Thank you. Bye.